Today, we're going to talk about how to run a quicker park run. The tips and strategies that we talk about are applicable to anyone, and that's whether you're running a 50-minute park run or a 15-minute park run. Although, if you're running a 15-minute park run, then perhaps you could just give some of the rest of us some of your speed. Now, most people have a goal to go under a certain time, whether that's 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 30 or 20 minutes, and I think it's great to have something to aim for. The tips we go through have helped me personally to run a lot faster, as well as athletes that I've coached. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to go and spunk £200 on some new shoes because that's not necessary. Now, if you're new here, then hey, my name's James and I'm a sport nutritionist as well as being a British triathlon coach and now someone who enjoys running. I did my first run back in 2016 and I remember it well. It was actually Christmas Eve and it was cold, bitter, and not really that fun. Certainly not my best Christmas present ever. I managed to drag myself around in about 26 minutes, and fast forward to now, and I'll run a 5k somewhere around 18:45. It's definitely possible for you to run it faster, and by the end of this video, you'll have some great tips on how to do that. If you take one thing away from this video, and honestly I hope you take a lot more than that, but if you take one thing away from this video, it's to start slower than your target pace. Now, you probably won't actually do this because as you'll know if you've ever done a park run, as soon as you start, you get carried away by this tidal wave of people running way too fast. If you haven't done one, be prepared to run about double your intended pace at the start for a minute or two before you realize you've made a big mistake and there's no going back. But all jokes aside, aim to start easier than you planned to. It's so easy to go too hard at the start, and unfortunately, once you cross that red line, there's almost no way to bring things back other than stopping or running far slower than you can, which clearly isn't helpful for running a faster park run. Try to run your first kilometre just slower than your target pace. Imagine that first kilometre like an easy, effortless run. In truth, probably an effortless run accompanied by someone breathing extremely heavily next to you, and then start building into it over the next couple of kilometers. One of the best ways to run a park run PB is to negative split it. Now, don't worry if you've never heard of that before. It's just a way of saying the second half of your run is faster than the first. This is something that people use for different distances, including marathons, to achieve amazing times. Now, there is a genuine benefit from running it like this. I mentioned crossing that red line, and in sports physiology, what's happening is you've gone into a territory where you're filling up with lactate and waste products at a far faster rate than you can offload at which point your only option is to slow down. But by building into it, you're going to get to that line much later on and at a point where you can actually tolerate it to the end, and therefore you'll finish your park run with a quicker time. So breakfast is a topic which gets a lot of people confused, and there are mixed messages out there. Do you need breakfast before a park run? Now, I can answer this quickly and very simply and say no, you definitely do not need to have breakfast to run a park run. You can almost certainly do it without having breakfast and you'll make it around the course. Some people will even be able to run a horribly quick time too. But if you want to run a faster park run, then you should have a breakfast containing carbohydrates. The science is very clear about this. And there are 3 reasons why breakfast is useful. Firstly, it tops up your liver glycogen stores overnight. Your body has a store of carbohydrates as glycogen, and mostly in your muscles and your liver. Your liver provides organs like your brain with glucose overnight to keep them functioning, and you use some of these up whilst you sleep. Breakfast helps to top these stores up and reduce the likelihood that low liver stores cause your blood sugar to drop, resulting in you feeling more sluggish and tired before you really are. The second benefit of a carb-rich breakfast is to increase your carbohydrate metabolism. By that, I mean your body becomes better at using carbohydrates, so you'll be able to better provide your body with energy when you do a park run. You might already know this, but you have 2 main sources of energy during exercise, and that's fats and carbohydrates. When you do something like a park run, you are going to be predominantly or perhaps only using carbohydrates for energy because you can only use fat for low intensity exercise. And I'm sure you know that park runs are anything but low intensity. Last but not least, we know that when you exercise in a fasted state, the perceived exertion of exercise is harder. So never mind blood sugar levels or anything else. Exercise literally just feels harder when you're doing it fasted, and as if park runs need to be any bloody harder. So, my advice is if you want to run a faster park run, have breakfast. Contrary to what anyone else might say, in order to run your fastest, almost anyone will benefit from having some sort of carbohydrate-based breakfast. Now, this doesn't have to be a large breakfast because the aim of it is not to give you lots of energy to power you around your course. These are all reasonable breakfast ideas for you. They all have a carbohydrate focus because that's the main thing. You don't want this breakfast to be particularly high in fiber, protein, or fat because those things are more likely to give you tummy upset. Something light here is great. Have breakfast a minimum of 90 minutes before your park run, but you might need longer. Personally, I need a good couple of hours, but breakfast will definitely help you to run a faster park run. Next is something which is important in so many different areas of life, and it's the power of your mind and just how influential it is. You can run a faster park run by simply getting into the right mindset for it. Now, for a lot of people, a park run can feel uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. And that's okay. It feels uncomfortable for me too, but there are 3 things that make it much more bearable. Firstly, I know it's my choice, and I know it will end, even if it's not always as soon as I would like. Secondly, I'm actively working towards something that I want, and I'm doing good for my body. And thirdly, I've done it enough to understand that sensation, expect it, and actually kind of enjoy it now. This makes it a different experience, and my approach to it is very different from when I first started doing them. Rather than being something that is a really hard challenge and to be scared of, I actually see it as a positive thing. And you can embrace this discomfort. And honestly, the more you do it, the more you do understand that sensation. Yes, your lungs and your legs are on fire and you want to stop, but everyone else is feeling the same too. I also smile to myself as I run around. I literally do. As it's getting harder, I smile to myself because I know that I've put myself into that situation and smiling makes me feel better. Next time you run a park run, try smiling to yourself as it gets harder. Try smiling or saying thank you to a marshal. It'll make you feel good and they'll appreciate it too, even if it sounds like you're snarling at them like a wild animal between gasps. I recently listened to a great podcast on a similar topic, and if you've got 10 minutes, then I would give it a go. Your mind is a powerful tool, and you can use it to your advantage. Another thing which often confuses people is whether they should have food or drink during their park run. This is a simple one, and the answer is no. Whether you're hoping to break 20 minutes or 50 minutes, you don't need food or drink, especially if you've had a little breakfast like we've already spoken about, and you had a good dinner the night before. Your body will be able to get you round that course without needing anything else. For some people, this is a bit of a scary thing, but I promise you, from a sport nutrition point of view, you don't need it. Instead, give your all to the park run, and you can focus on it without worrying about trying to unwrap sweets or have a gel, even when simply breathing is hard. So hopefully these are some easy, simple tips that you can use to help you run a faster park run. If you have found this video useful, then I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more helpful videos, like this one that I did on how to run without getting tired, because there's an easy method to it. You can watch that video by clicking it, and I've also put another one up that you might find interesting.